and they're off. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to beautiful Belmont Park, and it has turned out to be a beautiful spring day. Mostly sunny skies. The temperature will be in the 70s. The main track is muddy. The turf courses are good. Portable rail is up on the inner turf at 9 feet and on the widener turf at 27 feet. Right now, we'll take a look at today's changes. In the first race, scratch number 3, Zuzu Dini. First race, scratch the 3, Zuzu Dini. In the second race, there's a jockey change on the 5, Synonymous, to Heeman Harkey. Heeman Harkey will ride number 5, Synonymous, in race 2. In the third race, scratch 3, Out the Woods, and 4, Couples Therapy. Scratch numbers 3 and 4, and note that number 5, Macart, is a Ridgeling. In the fourth race, which begins the pick 6, there are no changes. Race 5, scratch the 7, Question My Sanity, scratch number 7, and a rider change will be announced for number 9, Irie Spice. Jockey change to be announced for the 9. Sixth race, scratch number 5, Olympic Rump. Scratch the 5 out of race 6. Today's seventh race begins the triple play pick 3. Scratch 3, Halo City, and the 4, Eloquent Speaker. Scratch 3 and 4 out of the 7th. Featured 8th race, the Gold Fever Stakes, no changes. And in today's 9th race, scratch the 13, This Lady Is the Law. Scratch number 13 out of race 9. Main track muddy, turf course is good. We'll be back at 12:30 to recap the changes. First race post today is at 1 p.m. Up next, the Sunday edition of Talking Horses with Andy Serling and special guest Maggie Wolfendale Morley.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Talking Horses. Anthony Stabile is Maggie Wolfendale today. Anthony, you're looking good today.
Wow, it's what a good night's sleep will do to one.
It's amazing. Yeah, really. God, you have really transformed.
Thank you.
I mean, the diet's going great, and I'm glad to see it. Anyway, Anthony has a well-desered day off today.
Yes.
I think it was here until around 3 in the morning. He and Acacia, true troopers being here.
Yep.
I know.
Keisha got here before me, so
She's amazing.
Yep.
She's amazing.
No
yeah,
rest,
she said they had
weary.
fun, and I turned it on. I felt like I'd been home for a couple hours and doing work, and they still had like an hour plus to go. So it was
no thanks
fun
for
night,
me.
but fun day yesterday actually, and we have a little time. Well, we probably have a second. Why don't we talk about yesterday's stuff? What were your thoughts quickly on some of the races?
Well, I thought Trevor gave the most perfect ride on
great was
Highland
that,
Chief,
seeing him
and
win a grade one? It was just a great
really
moment.
touched me. And he was so eloquent with his post-race interview
Oh, you
with
guys
me
were
out on the
tremendous
racetrack.
together, yeah.
I mean, I didn't feel as though I did a great job, but he was great, and you could tell how much it meant to him winning it for Grand Motion, whom had been in his corner from the word go when he decided to embark on having a riding career. And then we kind of saw Flavien Prat put on a little bit of a clinic.
Yeah.
It was good to see We the People get back to kind of the promise he showed in Arkansas, because I do feel like that Arkansas Derby was a complete write-off.
I agree.
He completely acted up that day before even going in the stalls.
Yeah, I remember when I saw the Washi comment, I was thinking, and I said a couple times, I thought that you had been commenting on how bad he looked that day.
Because I was actually pleasantly surprised with the way he looked physically, but he just continued to lose it, and he was so relaxed yesterday. Look, as you were mentioning, I saw some of your posts on Twitter. That figure's probably inflated. He's probably not that good.
It's a
but
wet,
he's a promising horse.
No question about
Yeah.
it. I hope people don't realize I wasn't trying to knock him. I'm trying to put it in perspective. Wet track figures are accurate. They're just not necessarily accurate reflections of a horse's talent, because a lot of you. Rock and Roll, who's a little before your time here, was a Belmont horse. They ran like a 119 buyer on a sloppy sealed track here, and he was a nice horse, but he was no 119 buyer. So sometimes they're exaggerated. I brought up Freedom's Child.
She's a great example.
Yeah, a horse that ran a huge race, won by 13 lengths, and obviously flopped in the Belmont. But I don't think that's fair to say. I'm not saying We the People's going to flop. And listen, I think what we want to come out of the Peter Pan with is at least one Belmont contender, and we did.
Yeah. I don't really like him in the Belmont, though.
I'll take a wait-and-see approach. I'm not saying I'm signed on for betting him, but and Rougier, was good, did what she had to do against that field.
I think she moves forward from this effort, too.
Probably the New York for her to mile and a quarter, the same distance she won the Prix Diane.
Yeah.
Well, we got 9 races to talk about. We'll head over to Naira Bets first. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, no better time than the present. Use the promo code MATCH200, and we will match with $200 of your initial deposit. Play through Naira Bets. Keep the money in the game. We have a $10 bonus with Monmouth Park. $50 each at Belmont and Monmouth. They're in $10. Monmouth could use a nice day today. They got much worse weather than we did, and much earlier than yesterday, because they've been a washout and such a nice track, Monmouth. Also, we have the triple play bonus, pick 3 bonus. That's the separate bet, the $3 minimum. And if you play that through Naira Bets, that's the last 3 races, you get $10 back on a losing ticket. Opt in at Naira Bets. Don't forget to opt in for any promotion. We also have Belmont Stakes tickets. We've got 27 days now to go.
It's your birthday this year, isn't it?
It is my birthday.
Yeah.
Did your birthday ever fall on Travers Day?
Yeah, next year it will. The day before this year. Yeah.
You won't be taking it off.
Nope. Not getting my birthday off next year.
Dave O'Rourke asked me, what are you going to do for your birthday? And I said, I'm going to take it off. And Tony Alvaro, who's our more immediate boss, said, yeah, that's not happening. I wouldn't. I'd be here for Belmont. I mean, listen, I was at
you would come here even if you weren't working.
My first Belmont Stakes visit was Seattle Slew winning on my birthday in 1977, a long time, before. Had your parents even met yet?
Nope.
You're getting up there,
No,
Maggie.
you're
getting up there. You're never going to catch me, but
anymore.
I don't know. You're still doing pretty well. And finally, last but not least, 12:30 to 5:30 on FS2, America's Day at the Races. So, race number 1. I feel like you've got 3 good horses in here, and I don't think, and I get picking predicted, but I do want to talk to you a bit about him getting the distance. I was going to pick him in this race, and I don't know why. When I first looked at the race, I thought it was 7 furlongs, and I thought, you know what? I like the cutback for predicted. I just wonder if he wants a little less distance.
I hear what you're saying, and kind of based on that 1.8 2-turn race at Aqueduct, you kind of think that. And look, that complete agenda. He was against the track too, but he had an even wider trip than
But he
predicted.
was off the rail, so I mean,
Right.
it wasn't-
So a little bit against the track for both of these, but he. Who is somebody talking in
yeah,
your
we
ear?
have noise in our ears.
Yeah, sorry, it's completely
and we
distracting.
don't like it.
But Predicted is a horse that I'm doing that.
Me too.
It's a horse that I've always liked, Andy, and I
too.
just feel like third off the layoff. Maybe this is his time. Maybe it's just that one turn. I like the fact there's some moisture in the racetrack. One of his better efforts, albeit an off the turf event, did come on that muddy sealed racetrack too. And you know, the Chad Brown horses are just going to take so much money.
I agree. I feel like from a value standpoint, he's going to be a bigger price because it's not as though either of these horses ran so quickly that they're really formidable. Now, as far as Nabokov on the inside, and fan of some of his work, we'll look at his race down at Keeneland.
Wasn't it weird?
Yeah, you know, you felt like he kind of should have won, and he didn't seal a deal that it looked like he was
Right.
going to seal. And I guess the question with him, he's going to be the controlling speed on the inside. I don't think that the four will be far out of it, but do you expect him to wire the field? The track is muddy and harrowed, and I got to think it's going to be good relatively soon. It's nice out.
I mean, then he's coming back on the way. Do you think Arad made a mistake early on in this race, allowing the eventual winner to come up?
Well, you know what I think about that. I wish Irad would be more aggressive in some of these situations and not always be so ready to concede and just sort of stalk and allow the other horse to dictate.
Yeah, and I mean, he just maybe was a bit green because he was running in stops
Right.
and starts, especially down the lane. The pedigree says yes, longer. But do you really feel that confident watching that race that 6.5 to a mile and a 16th is going to, do the trick?
I'm not, but on the other hand, if Chad Brown's running him in here, he
Makes
must feel
sense.
confident he wants more distance. But I do think Digitize is the one of the two Chad Browns you do want in this race. And I remember you liked him first time out. And the truth is he actually ran very, very well in there. The winner was another Chad Brown horse coming off a long layoff, and he was able to wire the field on the inside. And this was a day, and we'll take a look at Digitize's last race, where the rail was very good. And I thought Digitize ran extremely well against the racetrack.
Yeah, and, to kind of compound his stablemate's winning performance here, I think Higher Quality may have been ready 2 or 3 weeks prior to this, because remember, he was a late scratch for acting up in the gate. So, this performance against a horse who had already had experience, albeit coming back off the long layoff, I think actually complements Digitize. I don't love the fact that he hung on that inside lead, but he still was running forwardly while doing so. Again, it may have just been a little bit of greenness. He's one, though, that, too, I'm not totally sold on going longer. I just kind of defaulted back to Predicted here because he had the experience.
Listen, I went between the 2 and 4. I wasn't sure who I was going to pick in this race, to be honest. I could have easily gone the other way. I wish it was 7 furlongs or a mile or something, but maybe he'll be fine, especially around one turn. And I want to say that Cloud Forest, I think Cloud Forest, the name of a horse that I saw win here in the 70s.
Really?
Yeah.
This horse has a serious pedigree, but for another surface.
It's gigantic turf pedigree.
Yeah.
You get the feeling, you wonder with the Wygots having this horse here, if they want to run more in the turf, and maybe Bill's giving this horse a start to see if it can run in the dirt and then go to
Right,
the
because
turf.
the majority of the works are from San Luis Rey.
Right. Well, more opportunities here.
Yeah.
Not so easy sometimes to find opportunities out west, especially if you think the horse is going to end up on the turf.
Right.
Race number 2. So, Love's Misery in race number 2, who is going to be loose again in this race. I think this is just the question of the race. Do you trust this horse to run back this race? Where did this race come from? It was a terrible field she beat last time. I'm not suggesting she's meeting killers today. Because if she runs this race, Maggie, she's probably going to win. I just don't. How can I trust her to run it again?
No, you can't. You absolutely cannot, because it's not like, oh, it was first time turf. She just moved up massively with the surface change. She'd been running on the turf before and not running anything near this. And yes, Rob Atras is a high percentage trainer, but you don't think of him as being that much of a turf trainer, although he has a lot of live horses on the turf today.
It was first time on the turf for Rob.
That's
and
my point.
Obviously the preferred surface, and she projects to be loose in this race, and maybe we're overcomplicating it. Maybe the answer is that she's just going to go to the lead again. Do you think she's going to be that much of a bigger price than our horse, Act Like Artie? Maybe.
She could be. She might not be. I don't know. But I feel like Artie,
David's usually
she's
right.
not slow.
No,
Andy.
I agree. She's supposed to be sitting second to her.
Right, and she's drawn right outside of
And
her.
Pratt's going to go.
Exactly. That's why that gave me so much confidence. You know, she's possibly a little dirtied up from those synthetic races, the Tapeta races, but you go back to her turf efforts in the fall last year, and they make her
They're
the
better.
horse to beat.
I agree. She's going to be favored in here, and
Yeah.
I agree with you. And the fact that she's not going to be pace compromised makes her a
Right.
better play. And the other thing is, I don't know where you're supposed to go. I mean, I know there's a little bit of pedigree for the horse on the rail, but it's not significant move up. And the horse is a Tapizar.
Bizarre.
And Linny Kate, she's, you know, the one thing to say for Linny Kate is she's improved a little bit for the notice on the dirt. She's really a turf horse. Their horses are running really well, and I think that's the reason that you and I have them somewhere you have a little higher than me.
Because I just really didn't like anybody. I don't trust Love's Misery, though I'm not going to be surprised when she runs well here again. And like I said, I thought Act Like Artie keeps her company. Now You Can't Leave just feels too slow at the
I'm
end of the
afraid
day.
I put her second, but I'm afraid she's too slow.
And those allowance races, those first level allowance races at fairgrounds are just never really that good.
And she was a huge price in them as well.
Exactly.
We'll see what happens. We'll see if the number 3 horse Loves Misery wires again. But you and I have gone to the favorite. I think we agree in race number 3 as well.
I know
and
we're very boring today. We disagree in one race coming up.
okay, that
the
we'll just have a
New
huge
York
fight
Friday
about
event.
that, and the rest of them we'll just give our numbers after
Yeah,
that.
but
That
easy.
works. That works.
Sunday anyway.
Yeah, nobody's watching. We'll take a look at Got the Gold. And I think, you know, in this race, if Got the Gold ends up the favorite, and David made this horse the 2-1 morning line favorite, he's supposed to bet against him. I know he
Yeah.
ran a 71 buyer last time, but, I mean, 2 back.
With the maiden 40.
You know, and he's back in that condition, and in a lot of ways, maybe you disregard some of the maiden special weight numbers, but he's got one number, and he's 0 for 11. If he's the favorite, I'm never going to pick a horse like this.
Right. I mean, maybe use the excuse he was against the racetrack last time, but he's always going to be against it somewhat because he just really doesn't have that much speed, especially getting back to the 6 furlongs. I think he's completely pace compromised here, and I much preferred the lesser experienced duo on the outside.
I agree. I mean, Hereby, who I bet last time out, he got caught chasing the winner, who was a very well-meant George Weaver first-time starter. And even though the race came off the turf, that horse had cost a lot of money, had more of a dirt pedigree.
Yeah,
And that
he
horse
looked
was
ready.
extremely well-meant that
Yep.
day. And this horse chased him and actually, I think, ran a little better than it looks. And I just Hereby might be the right horse today.
And two, every horse that's come out of that race has improved their buyer and just run better. So I think it might be a little bit of a better race figure-wise than what we see reflected in Herby's effort.
And Timeform US believes it is a faster race. They gave him a much better number, chasing that pace as well. Kingstown, I was on the fence with. I wish that the race was won by a 10-1 first-time starter, I believe, and the second horse was 60-1 in the race. That didn't
The
excite
pace
me.
completely fell apart,
I know.
though.
No, I know it did. I know. The 6
So
to
I
5
wanted to
shot
give him a
was fourth.
shot again. And you have Flavia on board. Who else is going to go in here? Right?
This is a full Klarovich pedigree, is it not?
Yeah,
Isn't
Central
Bullish
Banker.
Sentiment? It was.
Ooh, I don't know. You know better than I do.
It just feels like it has to. Doesn't
Yeah.
it feel like it? I got to
can't
look that horse
remember.
up. Central Banker obviously was.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm going to give that horse. I'm going to use that horse as well. I don't disagree. I mean, we'll see what the one does fair to Midland. Joe Brocklebank, for people not familiar with the assistant for Mike Maselli, who's currently serving a suspension.
And his
of course,
brother-in-law.
Joe Brocklebank. Oh, he's his brother-in-law? I did not know that.
Yeah.
What famous horse did Joe Brocklebank ride? Do you know this?
I did know this. My
He
memory's
rode
shot.
he rode one of the great horses that only ran 3 times in his life, but is well known as one of the greatest sires in racing history.
Oh.
He rode him first time, so his trainer Woody Stevens could get a little price on him. Danzig. Yeah.
Duh.
No, we were talking about that the other day.
That's how far Joe goes back.
Oh yeah, no, that was like late 70s.
Yeah. No, he rode a lot for my uncle.
Yeah. Did he
back in
really?
the day.
Really?
Mhm.
Down in Maryland?
Maryland, yeah.
That's great.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, he's been around the racetrack for a long time, just like the rest of us. Race number 4 will kick off the pick 6. Did one Herson hit it yesterday? Or was it 2? I know it was hit for just under 300,000. I think
Wow.
291 I saw.
Wow.
It was not
wasn't easy.
It wasn't an easy situation to put together. I know that Regier won, but it was hard because a lot of people went too deep in the other stake and got blown out.
Yeah, with Uvir and Ufo.
You had to get that horse in there, get him as a C, and you had to be right in an awful lot of places. Race number 4, we'll take a look at Straw into Gold to start out last time. I feel like this horse could benefit a little from the cutback, and I thought his race 2 back at 7 furlongs, he actually ran pretty well because that race was dominated up front by the first 2 finishers. So I think he's logical. I just feel like he's also got a little bit of hang in him.
He does. I can't disagree and argue against that point. But going back to that 7/8 race, those 2 horses, Call Me Harry and Dancing Buck, are proven legitimate turf sprinters, whereas now he's facing a field going the 7/8 where is anybody a true turf sprinter? So I really liked him. I thought he took a step forward physically from that 3 to 4 year progression, but I agree with you. He was probably supposed to win last time, but we have seen many of the Christophe Clement horses coming off these layoffs need a start. So
and
that's kind of what I thought.
Didn't like Duke ran sort of well, even though he didn't hit the board in his next start.
Yeah.
And he got a very good trip to beat him, and I think he legitimized his effort in there because that was a very sort of odd race, that one where Carlos Martin's horse ran off. So St. Selby is a horse that it's the second time that Rob Atras has entered him on the turf, and I was curious that you picked him second. So obviously there's something you saw about this horse that you want to bet him on the turf.
He does.
I would assume.
He has a bit of a turf hoof, and I mean, truth be told, I was talking with Rob this morning, and ignore the fact that he was scratched twice earlier in April. That was nothing to do with the horse necessarily, and he was so excited because we were standing on the rail together, and Tom and I are talking about, handicapping turf races. Are they going to be on today? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, they're off? They're not off, are they? He's like, I really want to run St. Selby on the turf.
Yeah, he wouldn't want to run him on the dirt where he would have been 3 to 5 here, Rob.
I know.
But I get it. No, I get it.
He really was excited.
No,
there's not an abundance. I love Contheros as a sire because I feel like he can get any kind of runner.
He's done very well with dirt horses. I agree.
And turf horses.
Surprising, yeah. No, turf too, but I mean, you would have thought of him as more as a turf sire.
Yeah, exactly. So, and 2, I mean, the one sibling, Valiero, he's 2 for 14 on the turf. He's not a superstar, but at least he likes it. So I just thought that from the inside, not that Kendrick sends, you know what I mean? And we'll see what Not Far Now does.
He's faster than Not Far Now, but we'll see how aggressive the rides are. Right.
So I thought he could be effective from that perspective, from the speed perspective.
I wonder how much give there will be in the turf. Because I think
do too.
A day like yesterday, I think a lot of times, think about the first turf race we ran. Was it the 6th? When it just had started to rain.
Yeah.
And they ran 136 and change, and we were seeing 133s on Friday. Obviously, there couldn't have been enough moisture to make the turf 2 to 3 seconds slower. But I sometimes wonder if in a day like yesterday where it's like sort of, it's not raining, but it's what it was doing yesterday. It slows the turf down. There's a lot of moisture on top of it or something.
Exactly. And
they slip a little bit.
When I interviewed Flavien Prat after the Beaugay, there was a lot of dirt on him.
Right.
And so I think, riders ride turf courses like that because when you don't have that soaking in rain and the moisture just lays on top, as you were mentioning, it does make it slick. So they ride just a little bit more apprehensively just to kind of keep their horses together so there isn't that slipping involved because that's when horses do tend to not get a hold of it as well. So I agree with you.
So
now, but it's been drying
and the sun coming
conditions,
out and
the humidity is completely gone.
I don't feel like it got a lot worse. I don't know how much rain they got out here last night. We got some intermittent in the city, but it seemed like it was
nothing
hit and miss
heavy.
around different parts of the area.
Out.
Well, I went out.
Out like light.
I'm not even going to tell you what I went out late to buy yesterday because you'll make fun of me. But the Mets came on and it wasn't raining at all, and I went outside and it was raining. Now I'm 5 miles away or whatever I am in Manhattan from the say. So it was one of those odd days. I hear you, and I wouldn't be shocked if he runs well. I want to bet Clickitat here. We'll take a look at him finishing second to Regal Speaker. It's funny. In that race, I had bet Ombre, the one last time out, and he came from the clouds. And I thought this was way the horse to beat. And he was like, you could never even find him. I never even knew where he was in that race. I don't know what happened to him last time. But it's not like they're dumping him in here. And, this is a horse. The good Clickitat is better than these horses. And he had some trips in his races. I mean, he should have won this race, to be honest. He lost fair and square here. But he's run some big figures, and he's had some trips in his races. I don't wholly trust him, but if he can still run, isn't he supposed to beat these horses?
I don't know if he's yes, he ran second.
No, you're totally against him.
I am. He ran second going the 7/8 way back when in 2019 and behind Worth a Shot, who's not a bum.
No, he's pretty good.
I find it hard to take horses off Jimmy Jerkins.
Okay.
and keep their good form. So that was kind of in the back of my mind. Granted, it's Mike Maker who does wonders with these horses.
No, but that's fair.
In these types of situations. And coming back off of a layoff, I don't know. He's going to prove me wrong. There was just too many things about him that I didn't like today.
Okay, we'll see what happens in race number 4. We have some difference of opinion in race 4, kicking off the pick 6. Early pick 5 and pick 4 close out in the 5th. The late pick 5 starts out, and I mean, today, okay. Well, I thought those were your race 5 picks. Today is the day for bailout. I mean, we're going to show his last race. And by the way, his last race is one of the greatest stretch duels between two horses that have absolutely no interest in winning. And Bailout finally persevered better than Al's Prince and kept his maiden condition by losing. He is so much better than these horses on paper. And even the number 8, I Am the Law, who's the clear, logical other horse in this race, he's just better than that horse. But he's an impossible horse to pick on top.
Both the short price horses are impossible to. I mean, how can you? You can't sit up here and do our jobs and say today is going to be the day that Bailout does it.
Right. And I Am the Law is Bailout in training, right? He's like preparing. Like if he gets in a stretch duel with Bailout might actually win.
There's just interesting horses in here. I think you put Hooky Player on top, who comes out of that maiden 50, which. Not a terrible maiden 50.
It was a better race than it looked on paper.
A
lot of horses came out of that race and ran Beyer figures 10 points higher. He's a 2-year-old to a 3-year-old. You can probably add another 10 points there.
Yep.
I didn't think he ran that badly in the race. I love the way Manny Franco's been riding. He's been so much more aggressive, and it's really paying off for him. That was a tremendous ride with that Judbon horse yesterday. He came out of the gate with intention, and the race was like over.
I know.
Just immediately.
It was great. I was like, yeah, Manny, just taking command from the get-go. And Hooky Player, I just didn't love the way he was traveling from my eye, but it's another year under his belt. He could grow up. He could, just be a sounder horse overall. And look, I have him 4th. I'm not against him by any means, but I thought strike price. Look, I'm gonna take speed horses, and this guy looks as though he's loose, and he got embroiled in that pace duel that completely fell apart. The other horse that went with him, horse that ran off with him, I should say.
But he was 30-1, and he did beat him. That's what I hate. He did beat him. That's the thing I didn't like.
But he had experience, that horse.
Okay. No, I hear you. Listen, I'm not knocking the horse. I'm not going to be shocked if anybody wins this race. I'm not going to be shocked if either the 1 or 2 win. It's very hard to make a case for anybody if you're betting against the 4 and 8 besides the 1 or 2. And you've got to decide which one you want. And I hear you. This horse could wire the field.
And look, and Flavien Prat takes over, and I think we're going to see it coming up here that he is going to get overbet a lot. But
somebody asked me that on Twitter yesterday,
and
it's a very reasonable point. I mean, let's not get carried away. And Flavien's terrific. But there's a lot of really good riders here. And it's not like Irad and Jose and Joe Rosario.
Last year
they'll hone in on one guy.
Irad, and we had Hall of Famers and Eclipse Award winners other than him in the room too.
No, I agree. They will hone in on one person if they're doing well, and obviously Pratt has been doing very well. And I keep feeling like Pratt's influence on this colony, at some point, some of these other riders are going to have to become more aggressive because he is an aggressive rider. And I think we've seen so much passivity over the years. It's not great for the game. It's not great for the players. It's not great for the horses. And I think we're going to see the riders start to fall into line a little bit more and become more aggressive.
Not only is he an aggressive rider, but he's an incredibly smart rider.
Yep. He's aggressive with a purpose. He's not just randomly setting horses to lead. Exactly.
Right. Exactly. He plays the race. He plays everybody. I don't want to say he plays everybody else, but in a way he does because he's consistently giving his horses the best opportunity and taking advantage of where some other guys are leaving gaps in their riding.
I agree, but I think, and I know you agree with this, there's got a lot of talk of Pratt. He's the new kid in town, and he's a fabulous rider. But so are a whole bunch of other guys in the room. And
let's not forget about the old wily guy, Johnny Velasquez, as well.
There's a plethora, just a cute plethora. You stole that from me faster than any word ever.
No.
I said it on the show yesterday, like last week, and like 45 seconds late, you said it.
Forever.
It's a David Letterman word, actually. David Letterman used to say it in the old show. It's a great word. I think that people will say, they'll start saying, oh, Flavien, it's like, let's not get carried away. You know, I mean, people talk about the Ortiz brothers. Luis Saez won the riding title in Saratoga. You know, and I feel like if you ask the average person who won the riding title in Saratoga, they say, oh, I ride Ortiz, just because they assume that he won it. And I think they forget. All of these guys are great riders.
They really are.
And having Flavio here, it just makes the colony stronger. And I feel as though his influence hopefully could be positive. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Can Luis Saez get bailout? I think if he gets bailed out of the winner's circle, they may immediately induct him in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if he's eligible, though. Anyhow, that's the first 5. Maggie and I will be back in just a moment.
Who you betting on? How about an app created specifically for horse racing? Naira Bets. We specialize in thundering hooves, fist pumping, and boosting your bankroll with robust weekly promotions. And offer betting tips from actual horse racing experts. Bet all day and night, nationwide. Get the action and thrill of horse racing with Naira Bets.
We're back. Maggie Wolfendale, Andy Serling, the late pick 4, kicking off in race number 6. And this is one of the more wide open, interesting dirt races. And I think there's a lot to talk about in this race. And we'll start with Dr. Ardito, who you've got second and I've got third. And obviously he's an improving horse. And it's fair to say if he takes another step forward, and I'm not going to hold Evan Lilly's performance against him yesterday.
Yeah.
That track got a little weird. We'll take a look at his last race where he got the big 96 buyer. But this horse is going to be overbet. He's coming off a 96 buyer win. He's won 3 of 4 starts, 3 straight for Chad Brown, and he has all the accoutrements of being overbet. And this is a much tougher spot than the ones he's been in. Much tougher.
Much tougher. You know, I was just saying to you off camera, for a higher level race, I couldn't get excited about this one because, yes, it feels like Dr. Ardito could win, but I think the class test is really what is up against him this time around. But then on the other hand, who else are you going to take other than Jerry the Nipper? I mean, Jerry the Nipper's the...
Talk about him. We both picked him.
Well, he looks as though he could be loose here. And
Irad's just supposed to go with this horse.
last time he's kind of fiddling around with Pipeline, who was a heavy favorite that day. Why not just go on and clear away?
Not a very good ride last time. We had a huge inside bias. Obviously, Pipeline was the worst to beat. But he took back at the start and let Pipeline get loose on the rail and chased him outside. He was chasing against the track, and he allowed the horse he had to beat to get the trip he was supposed to have, which was with the racetrack. Well, he probably wasn't going to beat him if Pipeline was against the track and he was with the track. He certainly wasn't going to beat him against it. And I really have to think, if he's going to lose this race, he has to lose it on the front end.
Yeah.
He might just not be that good anymore. He had a big break, but I don't think he ran that badly last time.
He really did it, and there's no Pipelines in here. Pipeline has always been a well-regarded horse from when he started his career. And he, this time, has to beat a fellow New York bred in Dr. Ardito, who has yet to face any open company. So he might be the goods. I just can't fully endorse him at a very short price, and I think Jerry the Nipper, third off the bench, is just a much more.
He's a better bet at a better price, I think. And David has Dr. Ardito 2-1. I don't know. I feel like these Chad Brown horses
could be lower.
It's the cursed success.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just because it's Chad Brown, and now his horses are just winning. Every one of them seems to be showing up and running well, and they're just going to take more and more money. So I won't be surprised if there's a bigger difference between the two. American Rule, I think, is an important horse to talk about in here, because he has a 95 buyer, and I believe this number is inaccurate. I understand it's accurate for the time, because all of these horses ran exceptionally bigger figures. Now, if Hammer and Ammer had won this race by 5 lengths, I would have said, well, he got a fast pace. It was a gold rail. He had a perfect trip up the rail, and he ran a 95, and everybody else ran 10 to 15 points lower. I'd say I can buy that. Mm-hmm. But American Rule was 3-4 wide around the track against the gold rail, and we're supposed to believe that he ran a 95, and if he had been on the rail, he would have run, what, a 104?
Yeah, what?
And I know that the Note horses are running well, and he's obviously run 2 races back-to-back that have been strong. With all due respect, and Kumar is a very cool horse. He beat Kumar 2-back, and Kumar is a consistent 80-buyer horse, and he ran. But do we really think he ran that kind of race? Because on the surface of things, if you believe in 95 Fig, and like me, you want to bet horses that were against the track, he can't lose this race.
Right.
But I don't, and I almost picked him, and then I thought, how can that number? I'm not saying it's inaccurate for the time. Obviously, the buyer figures, they take them seriously, look at. It just feels like one of these aberrant times that's just not a number that's going to hold up to scrutiny.
No, that's the way I thought I saw it as well. And like you said, before this, he wasn't facing horses that are in the best of form.
And even Hammer has been in pretty good form.
Yeah.
And he got a golden trip, and he ran much better than him. I'm skeptical.
I know. I just
can 3 jokers run it all anymore?
that's what I don't think. I don't think last time I've never thought he wanted 9 furlongs around 2 turns.
Well, he also got involved with a duel, but he dueled with King
Also true.
Kumbaya, who beat him.
Exactly.
But he did come back to win.
Right, off the turf event. I'm skeptical of 3 jokers. He just has not been the same. Now he does come off a little bit of a break. Maybe they breathe a little bit of new life into him, and he is a horse that can run well off a bit of a layoff. So again, this race was just full of horses that are really hard to trust.
I agree with that. I agree. It's very hard to. And what happens is Dr. Ardito's in good form, and the others are a little bit suspect, and he just wins. And that doesn't mean he's not a good horse to bet against, especially if he's in this 3-2 range or lower. We'll see how it plays. I thought it was an interesting race, but I agree. It is one of those sort of who can you trust races. I thought the 7th race was an extremely interesting race. And
Agreed.
There's a lot of horses that can win this race. I think both Chad Brown horses can win this race. Love and Thunder has been sort of her own worst enemy at different times, making her own problems in races, getting into traffic. I mean, when horses get into traffic 3 straight times, it's not always the rider's fault.
No.
You know? And
well,
she's
she doesn't
tricky.
break well at times, and
She
then she
didn't
wants
last
to run
time.
off.
If she had broken last time, she might have won, but
Right.
she didn't.
She would've
and
been
Manny had to make that move. And then there's Flighty Lady, and we'll take a look at her first win, which feels like a long, long time ago, when she beat Windfall Prophet, who never ran a good race last year. And I'm just wondering, how good is she? I mean, listen, she did have to face Mean Mary and Vigilante's Way. I just don't know.
You know, we were talking about this before we came on air, and we find a lot of times that these Chad Brown horses coming from Europe tend to run their best race, unless they're, really, really good horses, which I do believe, like Rogier is. They run their best effort for him first time in the States. Now, I do think that less ground is better for Flighty Lady.
That's the thing. And her last race, a funny race, because it was a bog.
Wrong picks, guys.
And that was a day that I regretted not being on the show when Tom Amos said he didn't think the pace was fast.
We're on race 7,
It was, Tom.
by the way.
What's that? Yeah, we're on race 7. Thank you. Not race 8. We're on race 7. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with her. And honestly, I feel like both Chad Brown horses can win, but they also, neither one of them have to win this race. I just feel like they're kind of wild cards.
They are wild cards, and you have to deal with layoff. Now, Chad's horses tend to be ready.
That's the
for
thing.
sure. But you went with a horse that I was really intrigued to see your opinion of.
I'm going to tell you something. This is a horse that got one of the worst rides of the entire Saratoga meet on August 1st, and then ran against a Tiger Field the next start. She couldn't win. And last time out, back to the Ride of the Road in Saratoga, this horse got about as atrocious a ride as you could possibly give last time.
I mean, there was just no sense of urgency when you have to be urgent at Gulfstream Park. I mean, you have to get forward position.
It's hard to believe, and watching race at Gulfstream is tricky in a number of ways. You never really see her making a move because of the camera angles they use in the stretch. But the fact that she got as close to the first 3 horses who ran around the track together is a miracle, given where she was in this race. A miracle. I mean, she was flying down the stretch.
And Market Rumor came back. She won. She ran a decent figure that day. And plus, in a field of layoff horses, at least she has that race under her belt coming in here. She gets back with John Velasquez, and she is a horse that, going back to her form from earlier last year, wouldn't she almost be favored if she didn't have her last 5 races?
And I think she's one of these horses that might look like her form has fallen apart, and it actually hasn't. It's just she's gotten the wrong trips and the wrong races. I'm not saying she has to win this race, but I think she's I think a lot of horses can win this race. Let's talk about King's Harlequin, and then we'll talk about the 2 horses outside of her.
King's Harlequin has just faced better horses and has beaten some of them. I mean, look at her, her running
I know.
lines. I know, yes, maybe Kristoff doesn't do well in these type of situations, and it's a
Terrible
near year
numbers with Euro
layoff.
shippers. That's the problem. And I have a bad trainer staff for the 8th race, and I didn't want to pick on him 2 races in a row.
You kidding me?
But
You'd
he
love
is-
to do that.
I love Kristoff. He's had a rough week. Gufo got tough beat. The Hall of Fame. He's 4 for 44 first-time starters
Hey.
off of layoff. First-time starters from not first time. First time from Europe, from foreign shippers. Turf, first-time Lasix and routes. 4 for 44 off layoffs. He's 3 for 25. They've just underperformed. But it is interesting that this horse was bought. At least partly by Saul Kuman's Madacat stable. I didn't look to see if other people were still involved with this horse in Europe. And it's coming from Nicholas Clement, Christoph's brother. So I have to imagine he said some positive things about the horse.
Yeah, and you kind of feel maybe a little bit more confident that, Nicholas is here oftentimes, and very communicative with his brother. So it kind of, I'm pretty sure Sangster was
Robert
part of the
Sangster.
ownership.
I'm so old, I
probably.
remember when Robert
Yeah.
Sangster was having those duels, buying horses with the Sheik, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Going way back, yeah.
Yeah. Look, those numbers speak for themselves, but I just thought from a class perspective
She's good.
that she might be better than
No,
these.
she could be a very nice horse.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm not going to be shocked when she runs well in here. The numbers really dissuaded me from wanting to take her. I put her 4th, though, because I am scared of her. The horse is coming from Florida, the 6 and 7,
Yep.
Champagne Lady. We'll see the races when they finish 2nd and 3rd before Star Seeking came back and won on a race. When Star Seeking won, she wired a field in a race where not a single horse made any move at any point in the race.
Yep.
And, Champagne Lady came back and she won on synthetic. My problem is I don't think these horses are bad, and I'm not going to be shocked when they run okay in here. There's only so many picks you can make, and I just don't want to rely on Gulfstream Park form on their turf course coming up here, especially against legitimate racehorses.
With horses that were with those racetracks at Gulfstream. It's one thing taking number 10 in here, New York Girl, because she's against it and got a ridiculous trip last time. These fillies had optimal trips,
Right.
and
Right, that's
they
the thing.
have
It's not
that
like-
speed. That's good. And don't you think there's a possibility we could see them kind of?
They're
who
sup-
knows around here?
They're
but we
supposed to
could.
both be forward in here, and
Yeah.
I don't think that Luis Saez is going to back off with Champagne Lady and just let Jose just dominate up
Right.
front. And, can Love and Thunder break and get herself more in the game?
Yeah.
There are a lot of questions here. This is a really interesting race. I do want to get back to something David Aragona just texted me. American Rule, that number has been lowered to 85.
Great.
So
That's
it is 10 points.
Okay, I feel much
Which,
more
by the
confident
way-
leaving him off.
But by the way, still makes the horse a contender in here,
No,
frankly,
it
off that
does.
trip.
It does.
The Gold Fever came a small field, but it's not it's actually a very good race. You could have
It
3
really
more
is.
horses in here with no chance, and it wouldn't be a better race because there are absolutely 4 that can win. And I even think Running Son of a Gun has improved. I just don't think he's as good as the other horses in here. We'll start with Provocateur, who you picked on top.
Yep.
He improved so much into this race, Maggie.
Yeah, isn't that a good thing?
I
he'd be the
guess, or
1
was
to
it
2
a
shot.
Gulfstream improvement?
Yes, you're always concerned about that with Todd Pletcher, but the one race prior as a 3-year-old, you got to remember, he wasn't. Granted, last time he wasn't even technically a 3-year-old at that point. These horses, they can get good overnight. I totally hear what you're saying. He had an optimal setup, just kind of stalking the pace. But I like the fact that he has that tactical speed here. Now he's going to have to kind of extricate himself around the
That's the right
likeliest
rider.
speed in number 6, Senbei. But I was really impressed by that effort. I agree with you. Yes.
He beat a Weaver horse, Nitrous Channel, who broke his maiden with a big fig. He regressed a little bit, but he looks like a legitimate racehorse. It's kind of disappointed, actually, he didn't show up in this race. Maybe they're waiting
Yeah.
for a non-winners of 1 for
He's
him.
actually bred by owners of ours.
Oh, really?
We had the dam, Lauren, my Chanel girl.
Oh, really? And I think Dean and Patty Reeves are
Yep,
at least
bought-
part owners of this
bought-
horse,
no,
right?
Yeah, no, they bought
okay.
Nitrous Channel.
What does Nitrous Channel refer to? I mean, having been to a lot of dead shows, I have a lot of experience with
because
nitrous.
he's a
but
Nyquist, and they mistaked her name as my Channel girl, but it's Lauren, my Chanel girl.
It's a lot to unpackage there.
I think that's what happened.
Okay, we'll have to tease Patty about that. I look forward to that, actually. Let's move on to Senbei. I'm going to bet against Senbei in here. He's the one that I'm going to try to beat. I
Yeah.
have Christophe Clement. I'm not denying this horse is good, but he is coming back in a very, very tough spot.
Are you encouraged or not? Because he was thinking about going to the Mike Lee.
Well,
But that's 7/8.
Can he come back in the Mike Lee? That's
That's pretty tight.
the 20. That's the 30th, right?
30th, end of this month.
Probably not going to come
Probably
back
not.
in 2 weeks.
My problem
You
is
want to run 6
he's
furlongs
beating
instead of
up
7?
on horses who have not gone on as 2-year-olds. And I question, is this horse going to go on? Because he just had the look of being a precocious type that might not take that next step forward, and this is not.
You know,
Great.
these are funny stats because there's that stat of your husband's that I put up before that I didn't use on Thursday because the horse isn't going to be that short a price. And I've talked to Tom about it, and as I'm sure you have as well. But, these stats are by design. They're not trying to lose races.
Now you're
because
confusing me.
No, we were talking
What are you
about,
talking about?
Tom and I were talking about that filly. Were you in the airplane when she won?
Oh,
Sweet
yeah.
Lou,
very sweet Randy Lou.
That rated and won. But
Yeah.
when she came back at Aqueduct, she was in a spot she could
Oh,
win.
yeah.
But Tom's
yeah.
like 1 for 30 something
yeah.
off of these kind of layoffs, and
And
they
let me tell
just need a
you,
race.
I thought she was fit. I mean, I had gotten on her, and I was like, Jesus, Tom, she's fit. Nope, they still need a
They
race.
just need a race sometimes, and Senbei is in a tough spot to need a race. And maybe listen, I'm not saying he does, and Christophe may well think he's ready to go, and maybe he wanted to come back at 6 as opposed to 7 in the Mike Lee.
Exactly.
We'll see what happens. I'm not saying he can't win, but there's a lot going on in here.
I like your horse. I've always liked this horse.
I like this horse. I think this is a
Don't
very,
Wait Up.
I think it's amazing. We'll take a look at Don't Wait Up, Breaking His Maiden. I mean, I know Command Performance has fallen apart this year, but come on. Command Performance ran a huge second behind Jack Christopher in the Champagne, and that race is perfectly legit. He was now he should have won. Jack in here, Command Performance. He had trouble in here, but that doesn't take away the legitimacy of this effort by Don't Wait Up. And it's not like the horse who was third forced ranking. He ran a little slower by her when he came back, but he did win. I think he's good. I couldn't believe when I saw he was 5-1 in the Breeders' Futurity. Though, as David Aragona said to me, well, there wasn't that much going on in that race. I think he's a sprinter. And did you watch his race at Evangeline?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, they should be a warning on it to say if you have a pacemaker, don't watch this video,
Oh,
right?
if you are prone to seizures, do not watch
What
that
was
replay.
going on
I
with
thought
that
I was
thing?
going to have a seizure.
I turned it off. By the end of
was
the
like,
stretch, I had to turn it off.
what
If you've
the
watched
heck?
it, you know what we're talking about. But it was a race
It was
that
a bad ride,
completely
too.
He got a ridiculous ride, a ridiculous trip. He rushed up after getting left. He was steadied out, rushed
Pinch
up.
back
The
on
race completely and totally fell apart in the late stages. It was just, it'll be the right race for him if he wins here, because you could say it helps set him up for this race. I think there's a chance that he's pretty good. I really do.
Okay, so I liked him from the get-go. I liked him in his first race.
Should have won that
Obviously,
day. He was best.
And I'm a little concerned that his best figure came on that muddy sealed racetrack.
Yeah.
Little concerned.
Okay, that's fair.
But I think this is worth with some real ability.
I
and he's
think he's
totally a sprinter. I've thought that from the start as well. So I'm scared of him. He just doesn't have the good recent form that Provocateur does, but there's every reason to believe he can get back to
What
it.
about Fluid Situation, who,
I don't
God
trust him.
forbid, he ran second to Highly Respected 2 races back, but that's just a whine for me. I'm going to
I
tell
don't
you
trust
something.
these Tampa main special weights.
But
Do you
horses
on
came,
the dirt?
I don't know. The third horse came back and went 11 points higher. The fifth
In a
horse
main
7 points. The
35,
sixth,
though.
I know, but they ran back. At
I
least
get-
they legitimized the number. At least they didn't come back and all run 10
But the fourth
points.
came back and went on the turf.
But the 6th, the 5th, and the 3rd all came back and ran better. Now, the second horse blew up and ran 30 points lower, but we've seen enough to say it's possible that fig is legit. Now, I'm not saying he's going to run it back here, but do you want to completely dismiss him?
You know what? Okay, so kind of going by
You got
my
him third, by the way. It's not like you don't think he can
Oh
win.
no, I'm scared of him.
Yeah.
My thing is that so John Terranova had him entered opening day at Monmouth in a 2-turn race. And I've always thought this horse wants to go long and kind of, get out on the front
now he's
end
in at 6
like he did,
furlongs.
turning back. I don't think he's faster than Senbei to get to the lead at all.
Or don't wait up. If he
Or
breaks,
don't
it's
wait
going to
up.
be forward
Put
too.
in blinkers on as well, So I don't know. I'm
No,
not going to be
I-
surprised when he wins, but short price.
How short is he going to? Oh, he's
No.
got 2 to.
He's lined at 2-1.
Okay, David, if this horse is the favorite, if you're right,
It's a big figure.
I know, but the other horses are stake face. You've got stake face Todd Pletcher, stake face Christophe Clement, and at least Don't Wait Up lost, but he's stake faced. I'm going to be surprised if he's a favorite. We'll see. Whatever line I made would be wrong. We know that. Race number 9. I don't know about you, but I feel like it's hard to go with anybody on top besides the horses we have 1,
Yes.
2. I thought Radiant Gem would run a little bit better in here at 6 furlongs, and I want to give the horse a chance for Bob Caceres in this spot. But I feel like the Christophe horse, who's got tons of pedigree, the 2 Laugh and Play, who got this ridiculous wide trip last time.
She was rank. As soon as she broke, she was
Crazy.
rank and trying to run off. So therefore, that's your immediate sign of let's turn back.
Turn back, right. Now, he turns back and he runs it for a tag.
I mean, that race, not great.
Right.
She comes out of. I mean, the winner came back as a favorite at Laurel and finished last.
Let me ask you a question. Is there enough pedigree with this horse that she has a little bit of value as a broodmare if she breaks her maiden?
Yeah. See that?
Now, I haven't seen her. Maybe she's just, a
Midget?
runt or something, or there's
She
something
did
about
look a
her.
little small.
But she does feel like a horse, and that I picked her on top. But I'm going to be interested to see if she gets claimed just for that very reason.
Yeah, I mean, claiming into mischiefs, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, and the 8 Diamond Domsa, I'll let you talk about her.
Diamant Damsa,
Yeah.
Damsa, whatever. She's a sprinter.
I do want to say one thing. I watched her debut at Cork. I just want to get that out there.
You are dedicated.
No, I'm deranged and pathetic.
Also that was being nice. But
She didn't really dwell at the start. She broke like a leg slow.
so, but obviously you watched her fairground race.
No, I watched
Turf?
this one. I didn't bother with the one where she ran nowhere.
Really? That's the
I-
one that tells the story, though.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
Tell the story,
sorry.
Mag.
So, same thing as Christophe's horse, the 2 in here. Broke, touch slow, rushes off to the lead. Then another horse runs off to her inside, bolts going into the first turn. They end up literally on the outside fence.
No, this isn't the race where I bet that Al Stallfirster that ran second at a big price.
Shirley? Yeah,
Was
Shirley.
that the Al
I think
Stallfirster?
it was.
I feel like I was
I
visiting my
think.
mom, and I bet this horse like 13-1 or something, first-time starter, and ran super.
Yeah.
I think that might be that race because I think that was that instant. Oh, this horse was in that. Oh.
And therefore, she's like
So I should have watched it.
Four
But luckily-
wide, and then they kind of drop back over, but she's 4 to 5 wide, still with that horse to her inside, and then the winner scoots up, hugs the rail the whole way, and when the rails are down, which they were for this race at Fairgrounds, being on the inside is more essential.
As it is in many cases, unless it's Churchill Downs on Derby Day. And then Brad Cox tried to cut the horse back. He got reined off, and he's dropping in for 40, which, listen, it makes a certain amount of sense.
Yeah.
Maybe she gets claimed or not. It's just you look through the rest of them. Where are you supposed to go to take somebody else? I mean, this 7's after Killybegg's captain. There's a turf
That's
winner in there, but it's
dirt.
not really a turf family.
Yeah.
You've
The one
got,
with the pedigree is the 11.
I know, but $12,000. I'm going to pass. The horse who's got the best broodmare in our best racehorse in the bunch is the second Dam of Legend Song,
Oh,
or
yeah.
Bane, who I
Suave.
believe I
Suave.
saw win the Ashland. She win or she lose the Ashland?
Oh, I can't
She
remember,
was
but
in
she was
there. I
a
was
multiple
there.
grade one.
She was a Samantha Siegel horse, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good
So
horse.
she produced Suave and Worldly. They all wanted to run
Suave.
long
I like
on the
Suave.
dirt.
I like Suave.
Yeah,
He's a good
no,
horse.
I like-
He,
yeah.
Did he win like the old Saratoga Cup race we used to have up there before we ran the Woodward up there? Did he win the Woodward?
I think he won the Woodward.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he was a good horse. He beat somebody who was a big favorite, I feel like. I feel like he made second choice. Who are you thinking?
He was before AP Indy, wasn't he?
Oh, no, he was after AP Indy. Suave.
He was after AP
No,
Indy.
Suave wasn't that long ago, I don't think. I
No,
don't think.
you're right. He wasn't. He was like,
Yeah, I'll have to look that up.
yeah.
Anyhow,
Yeah, I'm a little interested in Diamond Status.
okay. Because,
Definitely a turf
quickly,
horse. She's
you have
definitely
to
a
go.
turf horse. She gets Lasix here. I didn't think her actually debut race was that bad as it looks on paper.
All right, that horse will be a price and worth taking a look at. Maggie, thank you.
Thank you.
Tremendous job, as always. You fill in far too infrequently, and I think others would agree. No, seriously, you did a great job.
Well,
I
thanks.
appreciate it. Did Grace help you with the handicapping? You can tell the truth.
Willow did, actually.
Oh,
Willow
really?
did.
She's starting early.
Oh, yeah.
Good to know.
She loves watching the
That's
races.
awesome.
Yeah.
Good. Not Grace. Grace, no.
Not quite as much. Well, she likes to tell me, Mommy, she'll watch replays. Mommy, the 4 is going to win. Like, no, Grace, the 5 wins. I have it here. Mommy, no, the 4. I'm like, Grace, this race already happened.
That's awesome. Does she know that she's a big star on Twitter, internet? That video you put up for her, you got about
Oh, yeah.
8 billion likes.
I
It's the greatest.
know.
I
She's
said
so
that to my mom.
sweet.
She loved it.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Oh, no, Gracie's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Willow's
Anyhow.
my challenge, but
All right, head over to Naira Bets if you're not a member. No better time than the present. Use match 200. NyraBets.com will match with $200 your initial deposit. Join NyraBets. Play through NyraBets. Keep the money in the game. We have a $10 bonus if you play $50 or more here and Monmouth. You have to opt in for that. Monmouth Park running today. And also, we have the triple play. We've got that $3 pick 3, races 7, 8, 9. It's actually a very interesting sequence. I think it's the best sequence we've seen so far for this bet. It's a $3 minimum separate pool from the normal one. And we have a bonus if you play it through NyraBets and you opt in, you get $10 back on a losing ticket. Also, we have Belmont Stakes tickets still on sale. Head over to BelmontStakes.com. Don't get shut out for a great day of racing. And finally, last but not least, 12:30, just 10 minutes from now, to 5:30 on FS2, America's Day at the Races. We hope everybody enjoys their day. Thanks again, Maggie, and John and Brielle up next, the reprise Scratches and Changes.